What if accepting a janitor position turned out to be the best career move of your life? Imagine being overqualified, underestimated, and then proving everyone wrong in the most spectacular way. Today I'm sharing a story about hidden talent, workplace discrimination, and how one act of kindness led to an incredible opportunity. This is the story of Daniel and the shoes that changed everything. If you love stories about underdogs who rise to the top through hard work and integrity, go ahead and subscribe to our channel right now. It really helps us continue bringing you these powerful true stories every week. Now, let's dive in. Daniel Martinez was a 26-year-old economist, fresh out of university. He had studied at Casa Grande University, one of the best schools in the country. He graduated with honors in economics and had a diploma in project management. But despite his qualifications, he couldn't find work. The economy was tough. Companies weren't hiring, and Daniel was running out of savings. One morning, he woke up, determined the day was going to be different. He had a job interview at a major company for a position as strategic projects manager. This was exactly what he had studied for. He put on his best suit, printed his resume, and headed out early. But as he walked down the street, something unexpected happened. A well-dressed woman called out to him. Young man, she said urgently. Could you please do me a favor? Daniel stopped, checking his watch. He was already running a bit late. Miss, I can't, he said apologetically. I'm running late to a job interview. The woman looked desperate. Please, she begged. It will only take a moment. Daniel hesitated. Something about her desperation touched him. What do you need? He asked. Please buy me some brand new heels, she said. Daniel was confused. Which heels should I buy you? He asked. Any in size 38, she said, handing him some money. Please, I'm begging you. Daniel looked at his watch again. If he was quick, he could still make it on time. Okay, he said. Where's the nearest shoe store? The woman pointed down the street. Thank you so much, she said with relief. I'll wait right here. Daniel ran to the shoe store. He quickly explained what he needed. The shopkeeper showed him several options. These are $25, the shopkeeper said. Daniel looked at the money the woman had given him. It was only $23.50. Can you give me a discount? Daniel asked. Please, they're for someone who really needs them. The shopkeeper looked at Daniel's desperate face. All right, he said. $23.50 is fine. Daniel grabbed the shoes and ran back. But when he got to where the woman had been standing, she was gone. He looked around, confused. She had completely disappeared. Daniel stood there holding the shoes, unsure what to do. He checked his watch, and his heart sank. He was now definitely late for his interview. Very late. He had two choices. Try to find the woman or go to his interview. He chose the interview. He ran as fast as he could, still carrying the shoes. When he finally arrived at the company building, he was sweating and out of breath. The receptionist looked at him with barely concealed disdain. I'm here for the job interview, Daniel said, breathing hard. For the strategic projects manager position. You're very late, the receptionist said coldly. Yes, I know, Daniel said. I had an unexpected situation, but if you'll allow me, I can explain everything I know about the position. The receptionist didn't even look up from her computer. No, she said flatly. Real plea, when a vacancy is available. Daniel felt his heart drop. Can I at least leave my resume? He asked. Just leave it there, she said, pointing to a desk without looking at him. Daniel placed his folder down. He felt defeated. All that education, all that preparation, and he couldn't even get an interview. As he turned to leave, he noticed another person sitting in the waiting area. A well-dressed man in an expensive suit. The man smirked at him. You're wasting your time, the man said arrogantly. The position is already mine. Daniel didn't respond. He just walked toward the exit. But as he reached the door, he heard a voice. Excuse me, a woman's voice called. Daniel turned. A professional-looking woman in her 30s had just entered the building. She was elegantly dressed and carried herself with authority. What did that young man want? She asked the receptionist. He was looking for a job, the receptionist said dismissively. But he was late, so I sent him away. Did he leave his contact information? The woman asked. Yes, a folder, the receptionist said. The woman picked up Daniel's folder and quickly scanned it. Her eyes widened. "This is an impressive resume," she said. "Please find his number and call him. Offer him a position." The receptionist looked shocked. "But ma'am, there's nothing available," she protested. "Find him something," the woman said firmly. Then she turned to the man in the expensive suit. "And you must be Paul," she said. "If you're the best candidate, then prove Italiano." She handed him some documents. "Review the last 3 projects we've completed," she said. "Do a profitability analysis and propose which one should be replicated and which should be avoided. Include indicators such as IRR and NPV. You have 2 days." "Yes, ma'am," Paul said, looking less confident now. The woman was Alejandra Robles, the CEO of the company, and she had just changed Daniel's life without him even knowing it. Daniel walked home slowly, still carrying the shoes. He felt like a complete failure. He had missed his one chance. When he got home, his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello," he answered. "Is this Daniel Martinez?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes," Daniel said. "This is Damaras from Robles Corporation," the woman said. "We have a job opening that might interest you. Can you come to our office today?" Daniel couldn't believe it. "Yes, of course," he said. "I'll be there right away. Thank you so much." He hung up, feeling hopeful again. Maybe his luck was finally changing. When he arrived at the company, the same receptionist greeted him, but this time she was slightly more polite. "Someone will be with you shortly," she said. Daniel sat down and waited. A few minutes later, a woman approached. She was attractive, well-dressed, and smiled warmly. "Daniel Martinez?" she asked. "Yes, that's me," Daniel said, standing up. "I'm Damaris," she said. "I'm Ms. Robles' personal assistant. Please, follow me." As they walked through the office, Damaris explained the company. "We're one of the leading import-export companies in the region," she said. "We work with international partners and handle large-scale projects." "That sounds amazing," Daniel said. They reached a private office. Damaris gestured for him to sit. "I looked at your resume," she said. "It's very impressive." "Thank you," Daniel said. "I worked very hard for those qualifications." "I can tell," Damaris said. "But I need to be honest with you. The position you applied for has already been filled." Daniel's hope started to fade. "Then why did you call me?" he asked quietly. "Because we have another position available," Damaris said. "What position?" Daniel asked. Damaris hesitated. "We need a janitor," she said. Daniel stared at her. "A janitor," he repeated. "Yes," Damaris said. "I know it's not what you applied for, but it's what we have available. And honestly, I was instructed to offer you something." Daniel felt humiliated. He had a degree in economics and a diploma in project management, and they were offering him a janitor position. But he also had no other options. His savings were almost gone. He needed income. "I accept," he finally said. Damaris looked relieved. "Great," she said. "Let me get you a uniform and show you around." She handed him cleaning supplies and a uniform. "You'll be responsible for keeping all the offices clean," she explained. "Understood," Daniel said. He changed into the uniform, feeling his dignity slip away with each button. But he reminded himself, this was temporary. He would find a better opportunity soon. As he started his first day, he noticed people looking at him. Some with pity, some with contempt. The other employees barely acknowledged him. To them, he was just the janitor. Invisible. Unimportant. But Daniel kept his head up and did his work. Later that day, as he was cleaning one of the offices, he saw someone struggling. It was Paul, the arrogant man from the waiting room. Paul was staring at his computer screen, looking frustrated. He had papers and notebooks spread everywhere. Daniel recognized some of the terms on the screen. NPV is net present value, Daniel said without thinking, and IRR is internal rate of return. Paul looked up, annoyed. "I didn't ask for your help," he snapped. Daniel realized his mistake. "I'm sorry, sir," he said quickly. "I was just trying to help." "You're the janitor," Paul said coldly. "Focus on your work." Daniel nodded and went back to cleaning, but he had seen enough to know that Paul had no idea what he was doing. The formulas were wrong. The analysis was flawed. Everything was incorrect. And if Paul submitted that work to Ms. Robles, the company would be in serious trouble. Daniel wanted to say something, but he remembered his place. He was just the janitor. Nobody would listen to him anyway. That evening, as Daniel was leaving, he ran into someone unexpected. The woman with the shoes. She was walking into the building, dressed professionally. "You!" she said, recognizing him immediately. Daniel couldn't believe it. "You work here?" he asked. "Yes," she said, smiling. "I never thought I'd see you again." "Me neither," Daniel said. "But I still have your shoes." She laughed. "I know," she said. "I saw you carrying them this morning. I'm so sorry I disappeared. My phone rang and I had to take an important call. By the time I finished, you were gone." "It's okay," Daniel said. "I'm just glad I finally found you." She looked at his uniform. "You got the job?" she asked. "Not the one I wanted," Daniel admitted. "But yes, I have a job." The woman looked sympathetic. "What position did you want?" she asked. Before Daniel could answer, someone interrupted. "Excuse me," Damaris said, approaching. "Ms. Robles is calling you." The woman nodded. "I'll be right there," she said. She turned back to Daniel. "We'll talk later," she promised. And she walked away. Daniel stood there, confused. Who was she? Why did she seem so important? He would find out soon enough. The next day, Daniel arrived early. He wanted to prove he was reliable, even if he was just the janitor. As he cleaned the offices, he passed by Paul's desk. Paul was still struggling with the same project, and it was due today. Daniel saw Paul's frustration growing. Part of him felt bad for the man, but another part remembered how rudely Paul had treated him. Later that morning, Ms. Robles called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the conference room. Daniel continued cleaning nearby, trying to be invisible. "Paul," Ms. Robles said, "how is the project coming?" "Making progress," Paul said confidently. "I need what you have by this afternoon," Ms. Robles said. "Yes, ma'am," Paul replied. But Daniel could see the panic in Paul's eyes. Paul had nothing, and the deadline was in hours. That afternoon, Daniel was cleaning Ms. Robles' office. She was sitting at her desk, looking stressed. Papers were spread everywhere. She was reviewing something and clearly unhappy. Daniel tried to work quietly, but he couldn't help noticing what she was reviewing. It was Paul's project, and it was completely wrong. "Everything is wrong," Ms. Robles muttered to herself. Daniel hesitated. Should he say something? No, he told himself. Stay in your lane. But then Ms. Robles looked up and saw him. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something shifted. "I'm sorry," Ms. Robles said. "I didn't mean to be rude." "It's okay," Daniel said. "Is everything all right?" Ms. Robles sighed. "If I tell you, I don't think you could help," she said. "Don't underestimate me, ma'am," Daniel said gently. "I was able to help you with your shoes. I can do anything." Ms. Robles looked at him, confused, then recognition dawned. "Wait," she said. "You're the young man who bought me shoes." "Yes," Daniel said, smiling. "And you never paid me back." Ms. Robles laughed, despite her stress. "You're right," she said. "I owe you." She looked at the papers again. "I'm trying to analyze this project," she said, "but everything is wrong." "Can I see?" Daniel asked. Ms. Robles hesitated. "Do you know anything about numbers?" she asked. Daniel didn't answer with words. He simply walked over and looked at the papers. Within seconds, he saw the problems. "Your NPV calculation is using the wrong discount rate," he said, "and your IRR doesn't account for the time value of money correctly." Ms. Robles stared at him. "How do you know this?" she asked. "I studied economics at Casa Grande University," Daniel said. "I have a degree and a diploma in project management." Ms. Robles looked shocked. "Then why are you working as a janitor?" she asked. "Because that's the only job that was available," Daniel said simply. Ms. Robles was quiet for a moment. "Can you fix this?" she asked. Daniel looked at the papers again. "What are you trying to achieve with this project?" he asked. "I want to reach an agreement with a bigger company," Ms. Robles explained. "But if this presentation fails, we could lose part of our operation." "I understand," Daniel said. "Give me tonight. I'll fix it." Ms. Robles looked uncertain. "I can't ask you to do that," she said. "You're not asking," Daniel said. "I'm offering. Besides, you still owe me for the shoes." Ms. Robles smiled. "All right," she said, "but this stays between us for now." "Agreed," Daniel said. That night, Daniel stayed in the office. He completely redid the entire project. He corrected the NPV calculations. He fixed the IRR analysis. He created detailed Excel models. He even ran Monte Carlo simulations for different scenarios. He worked until dawn, fueled by coffee and determination. By morning, he had created a completely new, professional, accurate project proposal. When Ms. Robles arrived, she found Daniel asleep at a desk. Papers and calculations surrounded him. She quietly reviewed his work. Her eyes widened with each page. It was perfect, better than perfect. It was brilliant. She gently woke Daniel. "This is incredible," she said. "Thank you," Daniel said, rubbing his eyes. "Where did you learn to do this?" Ms. Robles asked. "University," Daniel said. "And experience. I worked on several projects during my internships." Ms. Robles looked at him with new respect, but their conversation was interrupted. Damaras entered the office. "Ms. Robles," she said, "Don Cheo Fernandez is here for the presentation already," Ms. Robles said, checking her watch. "He's early." Damaras noticed Daniel. "What is he doing here?" she asked suspiciously. "He helped me with something," Ms. Robles said vaguely. "Please tell Paul to bring the documents to the conference room." Damaras left, looking confused. Ms. Robles turned to Daniel. "I need you to trust me," she said. "Of course," Daniel replied. Don Cheo arrived shortly after. He was an older gentleman, well-dressed and clearly important. He was the owner of a major international company. This meeting would determine the future of Ms. Robles' company. Everyone gathered in the conference room. Ms. Robles, Paul, Damaras, and several other executives. Daniel stayed outside, continuing his cleaning duties, but he could hear everything through the door. "Let's see the proposal." Don Cheo sighed. Paul presented the documents. Don Cheo began reading. His expression changed from interested to confused to disappointed. "This is incomplete," Don Cheo sighed. "I don't think you understand what I'm asking for." Ms. Robles jumped in. "Don Cheo, I apologize," she said. "The proposal isn't exactly as I requested. It needs some adjustments." Don Cheo stood up. "I didn't come all this way for an incomplete proposal," he said. "If we're starting like this, we won't accomplish anything." "Wait," a voice said. Everyone turned. Paul was speaking. "I can explain the plan," Paul said desperately. "We plan to increase imports of certain products and stop exporting others to increase long-term profits." "I already know that," Don Cheo said impatiently. "I want to know how you plan to achieve this." "Show me the numbers." Paul opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He didn't know. No idea. The room fell silent. Ms. Robles made a decision. "Excuse me," she said. She walked to the door and opened it. Daniel was there, cleaning the hallway. "Daniel," she said. "Please come in." Daniel looked surprised. "Ma'am, I don't think that's appropriate," he said. "Please," Ms. Robles insisted. Daniel entered the conference room. Everyone stared at him. The janitor in his uniform, standing among executives. Don Cheo looked confused. "Who is this?" he asked. Ms. Robles took a breath. "This is the real author of the project," she said. "What?" Paul shouted. Ms. Robles ignored him. "Please," she said to Daniel. "Explain the project to Don Cheo." Daniel looked nervous, but he stepped forward. He began explaining the NPV, the IRR, the sensitivity analysis. He spoke clearly and confidently. He answered every question Don Cheo asked. He showed his deep understanding of the numbers and strategy. Don Cheo listened carefully. His expression changed from skeptical to impressed. "This is extraordinary," Don Cheo finally said. He turned to Ms. Robles. "What I don't understand is how you have a mathematical genius working as a janitor." Daniel spoke up. "I studied economics at Casa Grande University," he said. "But until life smiles on me, I work as a janitor." Don Cheo nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "We can begin negotiations. But only if this young man leads the project." Ms. Robles smiled. "Of course," she said. "That's exactly how it will be." Don Cheo shook Daniel's hand. Then he left to take a phone call. The room exploded. "Paul," Ms. Robles said coldly, "you're fired. Get out of my company." Paul's face turned red. "But you can't," he protested. "Get out," Ms. Robles repeated. Paul grabbed his things and left. Then Ms. Robles turned to Damaris. "And where do you think you're going?" she asked. "Damaris? Froce. You hired Paul knowing he wasn't qualified," Ms. Robles said. "You gave this brilliant young man a janitor position instead of evaluating his actual skills. You're fired too." Damaris tried to protest, but Ms. Robles wouldn't hear it. Both of them left. The room was now empty except for Ms. Robles and Daniel. They stood in silence for a moment. "Why didn't you tell me you were an economist?" Ms. Robles finally asked. "Because you never asked," Daniel said simply. Ms. Robles laughed. "You're right," she said. "I assumed. I judged you by your uniform instead of your qualifications." Daniel shrugged. "Everyone does," he said. "Well, I'm sorry," Ms. Robles said sincerely. "And thank you. You saved this company." "You saved yourself," Daniel said. "You were willing to listen when it mattered." Ms. Robles sat down. "How did you do it?" she asked. "How did you finish that entire project in one night?" "I stayed here all night," Daniel admitted. "I couldn't sleep knowing the company was at risk." "Would you accept going out with me for coffee?" Ms. Robles blinked, surprised. Then she smiled. "I want to propose something better," she said. Daniel waited. "Do you want to work here as strategic projects manager?" she asked. "The position you originally applied for." Daniel's face lit up. "Yes," he said. "Absolutely yes, ma'am. I promise I won't let you down." Ms. Robles stood and extended her hand. "You're officially hired," she said. They shook hands. "And about that coffee?" Ms. Robles said. "Let's go a little later, after you get settled at your new desk." "Yes," Daniel said, smiling widely. Thank you for giving me a chance." "That's your desk," Ms. Robles said, pointing to a large office space. "Get ready. You have a lot of work ahead." Daniel looked at the desk. His desk, the position he had worked so hard for. It had taken longer than expected, and the path had been humiliating. But he had made it, not through connections or luck, but through hard work, knowledge, and integrity. Over the next few weeks, Daniel proved himself again and again. He successfully led the project with Don Cheo's company. The deal was signed. It brought millions in new revenue. Ms. Robles' company expanded significantly. Daniel became known as the youngest and most talented project manager in the company. People who had ignored him as a janitor now sought his advice. The receptionist who had dismissed him now greeted him with respect. And Daniel never forgot where he came from. He treated every employee with dignity, from the janitors to the executives, because he knew that talent and worth aren't determined by job titles. One evening, as Daniel was leaving work, Ms. Robles called him into her office. "Sit down, please," she said. Daniel sat. "I wanted to talk to you," Ms. Robles said. "About what?" Daniel asked. "About us," she said. Daniel's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" he asked. Ms. Robles smiled. "You asked me for coffee weeks ago," she said, "and I've been so busy that we never went." "I remember," Daniel said. "Well, I'd like to accept now." Ms. Robles said. If the offer still stands. It definitely does, Daniel said. They went to a small cafe near the office. It was quiet and comfortable. They talked for hours, not about work, but about life, their dreams, their struggles, their hopes. Ms. Robles shared how she had built the company from nothing, how she had faced discrimination as a woman in business, how she had almost given up many times. Daniel shared his own journey, the rejections, the humiliation. The moment he almost quit, but we didn't quit. Ms. Robles said, "No," Daniel agreed. "We didn't." As they talked, something shifted between them. A connection formed. Not boss and employee, but two people who understood each other. Two people who had fought for their dreams. Two people who saw beyond surfaces. When they finally left the cafe, it was late. Ms. Robles walked Daniel to his car. "Thank you," she said. "For tonight." "Thank you," Daniel replied. "For everything. For giving me a chance when no one else would." Ms. Robles smiled. "You earned it," she said. "And I think," she continued, "this is the beginning of something good." "I think so too," Daniel said. They said goodnight. But both of them knew this was more than just a professional relationship. This was the start of something special. Over the following months, their relationship grew. They worked together during the day and spent time together in the evenings. They discovered they had similar values, similar goals, similar dreams. Daniel never forgot the lesson he had learned, that you should never judge people by their circumstances. That talent can be found anywhere, that dignity and respect should be given to everyone. And Ms. Robles learned something too, that the best people aren't always the ones with the fanciest resumes. Sometimes they're the ones willing to start at the bottom. The ones who prove themselves through action. The ones who stay humble even when they succeed. A year later, Daniel was promoted to Vice President of Strategic Development. He oversaw multiple international projects. He hired a diverse team, and he made sure to evaluate people based on their abilities, not their appearances. One day, a young woman came to the office. She was poorly dressed. She had no connections, but she had impressive qualifications. The receptionist tried to turn her away, but Daniel intervened. "Give her an interview," he said. "But sir," the receptionist protested. "She doesn't look professional," Daniel smiled. "Neither did I when I first came here," he said. "Give her a chance." The woman was hired. She became one of their best analysts, and she never forgot who gave her that chance. Daniel and Ms. Robles' relationship continued to deepen. Eventually, it became romantic. They were careful to keep it professional at work, but outside the office, they were inseparable. 2 years after Daniel was hired, he proposed. Ms. Robles said yes without hesitation. They got married in a small ceremony, just close friends and family. It was simple but beautiful. At the reception, Daniel gave a speech. 2 years ago, he said, I was a janitor who had been rejected everywhere. I felt worthless. I felt invisible, but one woman saw past my uniform. She saw my potential. She gave me a chance. He looked at his new wife, and she changed my life, he continued. Not just professionally, but in every way. Everyone applauded. Ms. Robles, now Mrs. Martinez, smiled. She stood to speak. Daniel taught me something important, she said, that the best things in life come when you're willing to look past the surface. When you value character over credentials, when you give people chances even when it seems risky. She raised her glass. 2 second chances, she said, to see in people for who they really are. And to love that starts with a pair of shoes. Everyone laughed and toasted. Daniel and his wife danced. And they both knew. Their story was proof that sometimes the hardest paths lead to the best destinations. That humiliation can be temporary, but character is permanent. That one act of kindness can change everything. 5 years after Daniel started as a janitor, he was now CEO of the company. Ms. Robles had stepped back to focus on other ventures. And she had chosen Daniel to lead. Under his leadership, The company tripled in size. They expanded to 15 countries. They created hundreds of jobs, and they became known for their unique hiring practices. Daniel created a program called Beyond the Resume. It focused on finding talented people who had been overlooked, people without connections, people from difficult backgrounds, people who just needed a chance. The program became famous. Other companies started copying it, and thousands of people found opportunities they never thought possible. One day, a journalist came to interview Daniel. She wanted to know the secret of his success. Daniel thought carefully before answering. "There's no secret," he said. "Just treat people with dignity. Look for talent everywhere, and never assume that someone's current position reflects their full potential." The journalist pressed further. "But how did you personally get here?" she asked. Daniel smiled. He told her the whole story. About being rejected. About accepting a janitor position despite being overqualified. About working all night to save the company. About the woman who was willing to look past his uniform. The journalist was amazed. "So you're saying anyone can do this?" she asked. "Anyone with determination, integrity, and willingness to work hard," Daniel said. "Yes." The article was published the next week. It went viral. Millions of people read Daniel's story, and it inspired a movement. People started sharing their own stories of being underestimated. Companies started reevaluating their hiring practices. And slowly, change began to happen. Daniel received thousands of messages. From janitors who dreamed of more. From people working below their qualifications. From those who felt invisible. He couldn't respond to everyone, but he created a foundation. It provided free training in project management, economics, and business. It helped people get certifications. It connected them with companies willing to give chances, and it changed thousands of lives. One evening, Daniel came home to find his wife waiting. She had news. "I'm pregnant," she said. Daniel was overjoyed. They had been trying for a while. As they celebrated, Daniel thought about the future, about the child they would raise, about the values they would teach. When their daughter was born, they named her Esperanza, hope, because that's what their story was about. Hope that things can change. Hope that hard work matters. Hope that people can surprise you. Daniel made sure to raise Esperanza with the right values. He took her to the office sometimes. She saw him treat everyone with respect, from the cleaning staff to the board members. She learned that a person's worth isn't determined by their job, but by their character. One day, when Esperanza was 7, she asked her father a question. "Daddy," she said, "why do you always talk to the janitors?" Daniel smiled. "Because I was one," he said. "And I remember how invisible people made me feel." Esperanza thought about that. "Were you a good janitor?" she asked. "I tried to be," Daniel said. "But more importantly, I learned that every job has dignity, and every person deserves respect." Esperanza no de. She understood. Years passed. Daniel's company continued to grow. His foundation helped thousands. His story inspired millions, but he never forgot where he came from. He kept a janitor's uniform in his office. A reminder. When things got difficult, he would look at it and remember the young man who almost gave up, who accepted a humiliating position because he had no choice, who worked all night to prove himself, who never lost his integrity. On the 20th anniversary of his first day at the company, Daniel gave a speech. The entire company gathered. Even former employees came back. "I want to tell you about a pair of shoes," Daniel began. 20 years ago, I was running to a job interview. A woman asked me to buy her shoes. I was late, but I helped her anyway. That act of kindness changed my life." He paused. "Not because she rewarded me," he continued, "but because it led to a series of events. It made me lucky, which made me miss my interview, which made me desperate enough to accept a janitor position, which put me in the right place at the right time, which allowed me to prove my worth." The audience listened closely. "We spend so much time planning," Daniel said, "trying to control everything. But sometimes the best things happen when our plans fall apart, when we're willing to help others even when it's inconvenient, when we accept positions that seem beneath us, when we work hard even when no one's watching." He looked at his wife. And when we're willing to see people for who they really are, he said, not what they appear to be. The crowd applauded. After the speech, a young man approached Daniel. Sir, he said nervously, I'm the new janitor. I have a degree in engineering, but I couldn't find work. Daniel smiled. Welcome, he said. Let me give you some advice. The young man listened eagerly. Do your job with excellence, Daniel said. Every job, no matter how small, is important. Be patient, work hard, and when opportunity comes, be ready. The young man nodded. Thank you, sir, he said. And remember, Daniel added, this is just the beginning, not the end. The young man left inspired, and Daniel felt fulfilled. His story had come full circle. He had been where that young man was, and now he could help. That night, as Daniel and his wife lay in bed, she asked him a question. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Regret what? Daniel replied. The humiliation, she said. The time you spent as a janitor, being underestimated. Daniel thought carefully. No, he finally said. I don't regret it. Why not? His wife asked. Because it taught me empathy, Daniel said. It taught me resilience. It taught me that my worth isn't determined by how others see me, but by how I see myself. And most importantly, he continued, it brought me to you. His wife smiled. I love you, she said. I love you too, Daniel replied. They fell asleep, content, grateful, aware that their unusual love story had started with an act of kindness and a pair of shoes. If this story reminded you that every person has value regardless of their position, please leave a comment below. Share a time when you or someone you know was underestimated and proved everyone wrong. Your story might inspire someone who's struggling right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more true stories about resilience, second chances, and finding success against all odds. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for spending time with me today. Remember, your current position doesn't define your future. Work hard, stay humble, and be ready when opportunity knocks. Sometimes it comes in the most unexpected ways. I'll see you in the next story.